Welcome to Four Eyes, the podcast series that gives you a clear view into the new grad optometry world across Canada and the US. And we are your hosts. I'm Dr. Deepan Kaur.
And I'm Dr. Amrit Bilkhu. And we're back. We took a very long break from the podcast. To be honest, I don't even think the four of us knew if we were going to continue this podcast for a few reasons, but I'd say the main one was really just scheduling. Like, we all live in different time zones. It was just when the restrictions were opening up after COVID lockdown. So everyone's life was getting back, on a track. And we were really struggling to find a time that would work for all four of us to be on an episode together. So you might notice, for any listeners who've been on our Four Eyes journey, a lot of the episodes would not have all four co-hosts.
Yeah.
Because it was just hard. So we decided to take a break and then see, whatever happens down the road happens. Mm-hmm. And, obviously time went by. For any new listeners, we did our last episode last year in January. So yeah, it's literally been a year since we've picked up these mics. And then Deepan and I just felt like we missed it a lot. And everyone who listens to our podcast should know we love talking the most too. We over talk Rav and Alex a lot.
Yeah. Sometimes they'll be on there and people will be like, oh, they're here.
They're still there.
Talk like 20 minutes later.
So. We both babble a lot. And so I think podcasting, we still love. It's our creative outlet and we love to share information with you guys. So for now, Deepan and I will be co-hosting the podcast together and just giving it a fresh new vibe, I guess, or just to kind of get back into it.
And who knows, maybe Rav or Alex will do a guest star episode.
They're going to be interviewed. We'll just interview them for every episode. So we're basically co-hosting. And we missed everyone too. I think we didn't realize how amazing the optometry community is and just what supportive community we developed through this podcast. Yes. And we didn't really recognize that until everyone said, where's your next episode? Where are you guys? What are you guys doing? Why aren't you posting? Why aren't you recording? Yeah. And I was like, I was surprised and overwhelmed and humbled. I was like, wow, you guys actually care.
Listen to us. I was like, oh, it's just like our family or friends.
Yeah, it really does feel like that. So anyways, we're back. Actually, this episode was Deepan's idea.
Today, we just wanted to kind of get back into it a little bit slower. Not start too hot and heavy, but we just wanted to talk about some tidbits, some
titty bitties.
Yeah, some titty bitties, little pieces of information that we've learned over the last 3 years that we've been practicing. Some tips and tidbits to share with other new grads and kind of go from there.
The first question we should answer is, what have we been up to and what have we been doing since the podcast took its long break?
I think, honestly, I have not too much to catch up on, really. I'm working at a private clinic right now. I'm still there. I love it. It's still great. I'm there now full time. I think that's one thing that's changed. And then the other major thing is just a bit of traveling here and there. Went to Iceland. That was really great.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful, beautiful country. Like, I think it should be on everyone's bucket list. Even though it's, it's a bit colder, I even think that, even if you're from a colder place, you should go because the landmarks and the geography is just insane. Like, sometimes it doesn't even seem real. I don't know. I've never seen something like that. Even though we do live in Canada, like in the western part of Canada, there are glaciers and mountains and all that stuff, but they have similar things, but it's just different. And everyone should go. Oh, and then the other place I went to was the exact opposite. I went to Dominican.
Oh yeah.
With my family. Traveling with family is different. I think it's a little bit more.
That's all we need to know.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more stressful,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it
Hmm.
was just a different experience. Would I do it again? That's questionable. I don't know. But what have you been up to? What?
By the time summer rolled in, I got married. So I had my wedding in the
Yes.
summer. Oh, yes. Deepon was there. Rab was there. Alex was there. It
I
was
forgot to mention that
great.
part. That's when we first all were together too, wasn't it?
Yeah. The
After like
first
physically
time the four of
together.
us were physically together
Yes.
since 2018 was the last time we were all in a place
That's
together.
crazy when you think about
So,
it.
so yeah, shout outs to Zoom and podcasting. It keeps your friends together for sure. After the wedding, booked my 2-week honeymoon Europe trip.
Yes.
So that was like trip of a lifetime. We did Switzerland, Amsterdam, Paris, and England. What else? I am now also the marketing director for Vision Therapy Canada,
Oh,
which is
nice.
Vision Therapy Canada, or VTC, is the organization for Canadian optometrists and therapists who just are strongly interested in VT. And so now I'm on the board of directors. I'm their marketing person because I think I'm the only one on the board that knows Instagram. I like creating
Okay.
digital content. I started my own Instagram account, my own personal professional account, which I'm just, the creative juices are just flowing and I'm just filling up that cup. So, why don't we transition to our tidbits?
This is just a trend I've just been noticing. So this first tidbit is about prescribing. I actually, when I was working in my second year, I was working in Lethbridge and I was still at a private practice. The head optometrist actually kind of gave me this tip, and I didn't really realize it until he told me. But so for higher hyperopes, maybe like plus 150 or more. So these are like usually even like seniors and stuff. When I'm prescribing them a reading power, I don't always prescribe their full reading power. I kind of hold back a little bit because I've just noticed when they get their updated glasses and they start using the reading portion of their glasses, they're like, no, this is too much. And I'm
Yeah,
just like,
too
oh,
strong.
it's too strong. So now, like, say if it's, for example, I don't know, like a 67-year-old, usually they can get to like a plus 250 with their reading, but now I'll just kind of go back a little bit,
Hmm.
maybe to a plus two, plus 225, and then I'll trial frame it and see how they like it. And they're like, yeah, this is fine. And then I'll compare it to their full one and see if they find a difference. But yeah, now from now on, I just kind of pull back a little bit.
Actually, that is very similar to one of my tidbits. So you're
Oh,
basically emphasizing because what I noticed as a new grad was in school, it's a lot of push plus, push plus, push plus all the time. And
yes.
like if you don't, like you're not doing it right. Well, I guess I approach refraction a lot of different ways now based on, yeah, the
Yeah.
kind of category of patient. But any hyperopes, I always do the least plus that gives them the most comfortable VA. I feel
Okay.
like with more practice, you really do start to pick up, based on the age category
Mhm.
and their arm length and where they
Yeah.
hold
And
the
where they're
reading card.
actually reading their material.
Yes. I guess I'll go into my tidbit because I'm going to explain what I'm talking about. My tidbit that I've learned is trial frame every RX for every patient from ages 0 to
Mm,
99 plus. Once you've done the phoropter refraction, take it out, put it in a lens, and then trial frame it while they're holding either their own cell phone, reading
yeah.
material, the near card, the distance chart, trial frame, trial frame, trial frame.
Yeah.
It only takes 2 extra minutes. And trust me, if you feel like you don't have time for it because you're in a corporate chain that really pushes selling glasses, you will sell a lot of glasses when you actually show them how their vision's going to feel and look with the trial frame.
Yes. And also you will have way less prescription rechecks
Wait,
because
like 100%.
Yeah. And
100 and
now
yeah.
I'm like that, like a prescription. So I know for like prescription rechecks, a lot of people think they just take maybe 15, 20 minutes. Not always, not always.
No.
I always trial frame now because
Yeah.
yes, that extra, whatever, 2 to 5 minutes, I'm like, I'd rather do this than
Yeah.
spend another 30 minutes to 45 minutes figuring out what just went wrong. And then the
Yeah.
patient being dissatisfied as to why are my
Well,
glasses working?
yeah. And well, I'll tell you, for everyone listening, like all the new grads who get those partial refractions that come back, if I've trial framed and in the exam room at the distance that they believe that they hold things that we test out, if they are super comfortable with that prescription, the
Mhm.
minute someone comes back for a refraction check, I'm not nervous now. I'm not anxious. I'm not thinking in the back of my head, oh shit, what did I give them? What did I screw up? What did I do?
Yeah.
I'm always now thinking, okay, where did they get their lenses made? Did they buy
Yes.
them
Yeah.
online?
Yeah.
Did they get is the seg height off? Did they
Yeah.
put the wrong prescription in the wrong lens? Now, automatically, I'm more confident. And
Yeah.
actually, side tidbit to save you time, because I've learned from partial refractions,
Mhm.
the minute they sit in your chair and they tell you what's uncomfortable in their new glasses,
Mhm.
check the VA in the new glasses, take
Mhm.
them off, trial frame your RX from the
Mhm.
last appointment and put it on.
Yeah.
If the problem's still there, okay, something's changed in the RX, you need to change it. If the problem is not there, explain to the patient, all right, now we got to be detective and fix what's in your glasses. It's not a doctor problem, it's not an RX problem.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what I do. I always trial frame my
Yeah.
prescription because
It's huge. That's a good tidbit. Actually,
so
I'm glad we
my ego
started
is
with
too
this.
high. I'm like, there is nothing wrong with my
Yes.
prescription. So
No,
I'll put
and
a trial frame it and I'll be
yes.
like, okay, read the 2020 line right there. No, but I mean, yes, that's what I
Yeah.
do because that's how you rule that out. And if they're like, oh, actually, yeah, I can see through this.
Yes.
Actually, and to be honest, that is most of the time, right? It's usually not always the prescription unless there's a significant change, like a jump or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like a medical reason, something
Yeah,
changes, of course.
something like
Then you're like,
that.
all right,
But
something's
it's
off.
usually, yeah, the glasses, the measurements, the frame, something like that.
Yeah.
But you just want to rule out, that prescription.
One of my tidbits later that I'll talk about is basically confidence, but I kind of already feel like I already feel like the vibe of our podcast is evolving with how we're evolving as new grads.
Yeah.
Because when we started our podcast, we were just starting our careers. Everything that we talked about, we were more nervous, asking more questions, uncertain how to handle stuff. And now look at us, like 2 to 3 years coming in, we're like, listen, we're snapping our fingers, like we know we're good. Okay. We know what we're doing. We're smart.
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
like our confidence level is just really
Well, I mean,
different.
yeah, of
But
course, we're still learning and everything, but
oh
there's
yeah.
certain things we're definitely more confident about. This is not really a tidbit, but a piece of advice that I got during one of my rotations in Kansas. I didn't really think about this much at the time, but I don't know why this year it's been really hitting me. So one of the doctors at my it was at a private practice rotation, and she told me like after we saw, I can't remember, it was some full exam. We finished the exam, everything was okay. But they were telling us like a personal story about their anxiety or something that had happened to them previously. And we were just talking about it during the exam. But this attending was like, so deep on in your career, you're gonna realize how much you're gonna act like a psychologist to patients.
Oh, yes.
And she's
Wow.
like, you won't understand this maybe right now, but you will realize this, how much you're going to have to listen to patients' problems that have nothing to do with their eyes. It's
Yeah.
like personal problems, anxiety issues, all these other things that you're not trained for. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh, that's interesting. I never really had an experience like that when you were in school or anything. So I was like, I don't know, maybe. But yes, that is one of the biggest things I've noticed. And I think in one of our old episodes, Dr. Maharaj actually kind of talked about this a little bit too, because he runs a dry eye practice. And my current clinic that I work at is a dry eye practice as well. Yeah, people will really talk about different things that you're just not exactly trained for to
Yeah.
handle. And that can become draining on you as a person, because you're trying to finish this 20 to 30-minute exam and someone tells you this story and you're like, okay.
I never thought about that until you just brought it up. But
Mhm.
I can count on my fingers how many patients I've had where I have actually recommended if they would like to see a psychologist or a psychotherapist. I'm like, I can provide some resources for you. Dry eye patients go through mental health challenges all the time, and they even commit suicide from their symptoms.
You're not really sure if they're feeling this way because of their dry eyes, because of personal issues. So you're just like, okay,
Yeah.
I can only, you know what I mean? So it's like, I can only address the ocular issues,
Yeah.
but like what's happening with these other issues, you know? So
Yeah. Yeah. You just have to put up with a lot of other patients' mental health challenges and stresses, and they will plop it all on your shoulders. So you
and
kind of,
it's not,
as a new grad, you have to decide, what stress loads do you want to actually handle?
yeah,
Because some of them, like you said, if they're suicidal, if they're
yeah,
getting abused, like you need to intervene.
yeah,
But then on the other hand, how are you going to navigate those situations where someone's just kind of laying it on you and
yes.
it's not relevant to the eye exam? I wanted to dive a little bit into the confidence as my
Yeah.
next tidbit because now I really want to explain what I mean. As a new grad, we are like thrown in the fire. We're like little chickens with our heads cut off, running around. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So of course, our confidence level is shook. Like we are just so nervous. We don't know what we're doing. We don't know what's going on. I think with time, we will all find our confidence level. And if it makes anyone feel better, I'm already a lot more confident in my skills, in my services, and even just how I handle situations at work and stand up for myself, even with
Hmm.
just 2 years of working. And I'm
Yeah.
sure deep on for you, it's only been 3 years. That's a short amount of time, but you will get that confidence level. And um, I want to share two pieces of advice that I think are so, so important. They've stuck with me deep, deep down inside. I'll never forget this advice that really helped to change the way that I practice and just my confidence level overall. During my residency, there was a moment where my mentor and I, so Dr. Lee and I, were chatting with a mom who was signing up her kid for vision therapy. The way that the conversation was going with her, basically, she was asking for a discount on vision therapy services because her child has autism.
Oh,
It's a lot of work to take care of my child. There is a financial stress, a financial burden, and I just feel like he deserves a discount for
yeah.
vision therapy. It wasn't really a mother asking for assistance. It was kind of a mother saying, "Well, why doesn't he, have a discount?"
Okay.
Obviously, I was a resident. I didn't really answer that question because I'm like,
Right.
I don't even know if I'm allowed to give discounts. That's not even something I'm going to ask or
Yeah.
answer, right?
Right.
And whatever, the conversation ended. The minute the mom left, Dr. Lee looked at me and it looked like her head was going to explode. And
Yeah.
she's like, "Let me tell you right now, you are a doctor. You're not a clothing store. You're not a freaking like coffee shop. We do not discount our services for healthcare. We do not lower our standards for care because someone wants it for cheaper." And she's just like, "I can't believe this mom asked for a discount like that. It's so, ugh, it's just so cringe."
Yeah.
And the way that she said it, I was like, damn,
Yeah.
fuck yeah. Like this as a new grad, I mean, a lot of new grads also work in, retail chain corporations or mall locations where, patients come in maybe having that perception that eye care should be cheaper. Why doesn't my insurance cover the rest? I don't want to pay for my copay. With Dr. Lee's advice, like my confidence in that is solid. And this goes into what Dr. Maharaj said in our episode about the psychology of optometry. I will link that episode in our description for everyone to listen to because you really, really should listen to it. He was mentioning how products can provide status. So patients can have the option to purchase higher end products or cheaper products depending on their financial budget and what kind of status they want. That's fine. But services are provided to all patients equally. There's no discounting, there's no freebies, there's no, one person gets the 25% and the other doesn't, because everyone deserves equal quality of service. And so if your eye exam is, $150, everyone who walks through the door is going to get that $150 eye exam because you're not going to cheap out your experience and your service for anybody who's different. Even staff, they're like, oh, I feel bad for this person. I'm like, I don't, because I know if they pay to see me, I'm going to give them a damn good eye exam.
Yeah.
And so this is how much I believe it's worth. And I think that's where I personally found my confidence.
Yes.
And so hopefully you guys listening can take that with you too. And just be more confident in what you're worth. And you give good service. So don't cheap out.
And I mean, this kind of runs into these conversations about stores in the mall that are offering these $95, $99 exams. So just to play devil's advocate for a patient's point of view, when they're seeing these $95, $99 exams, and then they're like, okay, so why is this exam this much? But then when I go to this other clinic, it's over $150. What is the difference? So let's just be honest, like these kind of places are completely devaluing our services, right? And I 100% agree. We are doctors. We went to school for 8 or more years. I think my services are definitely worth over $150. If you go to any dentist for an exam, it's like $400 or more dollars. So I mean, again, I can rant about this.
Yeah, we can make this our happy hour rant.
There is a podcast series that Dr. Harbir Sayan did about the different doctors and then
kind of different like corporate chain optometry professions,
CEOs and owners of these chains, just to get a better idea of what they're offering to our profession and if they're trying to bring it up or devalue it. Yeah. And I think it's really important for any new grad or any optometrist to listen to that series because you can form your own opinion on these different companies and corporate chains.
And I'm still learning like I'm still building my confidence. Don't get me wrong. I'm not as confident as I could or should be.
Yeah.
I work in different modes of practice, right? So I am in corporate chains right now. I'm at a Loblaws. I'm at a Loblaws grocery store.
Yeah.
And I'm also in a family-owned optical that functions like if they were a retail chain, right? They want to offer discounted frames and cheap goods, and they want my eye exam to be as cheap as the one across the street because they want, they want the clients to come into their store. But I also work in a private practice that's been running for 20 plus years that charges $100 more than what I'm charging in the family-owned optical. And those two offices are an 8-minute drive away from each other. Okay. Yes. They're very close to each other, completely different modes of practice and completely different standards of care. I'm still building my confidence to negotiate with that family-owned optical to say, I know I'm worth more. Your Google reviews are all from my good service. Patients say how much they love and appreciate the service there. I'm definitely worth a lot more than, the amount that we're charging right now. And the sad news is I'm the one that actually sets the fees.
Yeah.
They don't have any influence on the fees, but they guilt trip me to make the fees cheaper. So as a new grad, we're screaming at you to say, don't cheap out. But
Yeah.
I totally get it. Everyone
It's hard.
around you is going to guilt trip you. The store manager, your employer, the patients, they're all going to make you feel like, okay, fine, I'll just settle for something lower, and then I'll just see double the amount of patients per day.
Yeah.
I'm still working on that too, but I always have to tell myself that in the back of my head. Like, yeah, I'm not a grocery store. I'm not a clothing store. I'm not a product. I am a service first
Mhm.
and foremost. And so for my service, I am worth this much. And because I went through, the mental health challenges we went through
Yeah.
in optometry school, I mean, we should be charging like $1 billion per eye exam. Like, I'm surprised we even survived.
Yeah.
And that's huge to all
Yeah.
students, even listening to these podcasts.
Yeah.
Think of the mental health issues you guys are going through with the amount of like craziness that school comes with. You don't want to come out of school with all that anxiety and PTSD
Yeah.
to just not get how much you're worth.
Compensated properly. And it's
Yeah.
important what you mentioned. It's the service. So, I mean,
Yes.
glasses and the products and stuff, like what you said about what Dr. Mahara was just saying,
Yeah.
you have your more higher end products and you have the less expensive products, which is fine. That is
Mhm.
fine. It's the service itself that should be valued properly because, again, we all went to school for this. We all know the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just that that's what just irks me is that
Yeah.
here's a $70 exam right across the street and then another exam that's like whatever 100 over $150. That's what frustrates me because I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, okay.
But yeah. So confidence, confidence, confidence. Take those messages to heart. That's what I would share with every new grad, right? Like don't discount, don't cheap out. You're worth it and know your worth and stick by it as much as
And
you can.
you're not being rude when you say something, when you stand up
Yeah.
for yourself. You are not being rude. You're
No, not at all.
just saying your wants and your needs. Okay. It's not being rude or confrontational.
Yeah.
Unless you are being confrontational. No, it's not. It's totally
Yeah.
fine. That's a huge piece of advice, actually.
That's like the whole episode.
Yeah.
I think we have time for maybe one more each.
Well,
We have,
mine has to do with sunglasses.
oh,
So
okay. Yeah.
it's like very small tidbit. So I think about 2 years ago, it was the first time I ever tried the brown sunglasses. And that
Okay.
like changed my life. Like my vision, like the contrast, the enhancement of contrast and my color perception. Oh my God. Now I tell all my patients to get the brown sunglasses versus like the gray or black ones because
Oh,
of like how enhanced my contrast is. It like enhances details, brightens colors.
but
It's like,
is that specifically more for you? Like versus like what's the science behind that? It like,
I don't know, I think it filters out like the yellow.
okay.
I was wearing them when like, cause we were having like snowstorms or rainstorms. I didn't even realize my windshield was dirty. I was like, I can see through this whole thing. No, I'm like, this is the best vision I've ever had. And now I'm like
Yeah.
such a advocate for it. So
Yeah.
someone's like, oh, I want to get sunglasses. I'm like, yo, you got to get the brown.
You just pop in the door, like when they're in the optical, you just peep out from the wall, like get the
Yeah,
brown ones.
I
Get the
know. I always
brown.
used to get the dark black ones or like
Yeah.
maybe some lighter tinted ones. But as soon as I got the brown sunglasses, it is
Yeah.
literally the best vision I've ever.
Oh,
When I first put them on, I was like, oh, I don't know.
I have to try those on. So actually, okay, this is not my tidbit, but I'll add to yours. Yeah, anytime I find or discover a lens that
Yeah.
has really worked well for some of my patients,
Yeah.
yeah, then I'm like raging about it.
Yeah.
So I will share for anyone that works with Maui Gym, they have a high contrast lens. I don't know if there's an actual other name for it, but
Okay. This is like a clear lens or
it's a
like
clear lens. It's not really a blue light filter, but it has like a little bit of a blue or like an anti-glare sort of coating on it. I think it's just called high contrast. I think.
okay.
This lens has been so wonderful for like a handful so far of my migraine light sensitivity patients.
Oh,
Because
nice.
usually I'll show them tinted lenses, right? So I'll go for the FL41, the
Yeah.
rose color, maybe a little yellow or a little brown or gray or a blue or whatever, green. And then all of us, and they'll sometimes like it, the tints, and they'll be like, yeah, like this is good. And then I show them the Maui Gym high contrast, and they're like, oh my God, this is so nice. Like, vision
Yeah.
is so vivid, it's clear, but the lights, it just tones them down to just such a
Okay.
low. And I've tried them on too. I see the difference. It's really, really
Oh,
good. Yeah, it's been working really well so far. My patients have loved it. And then I have one more titty bitty that I really think is so important, even maybe before you start really practicing, but you'll tweak this as you practice. Find your best analogies of eye conditions
ah.
because it will make it so much easier to explain those conditions to patients in the exam room. But
Mm, that's
really work, I would recommend work on it. Like
yeah.
pick one or two or maybe three different ways to explain a condition and then pick the best one that you remember that you can explain. Try it out on a patient. The less questions they ask, you stick with that analogy. Like it works every time.
That's true.
Um,
That's a good one, actually.
I have so many I'm like the analogy queen. Like ask me any condition and I'll explain it to you in layman's terms and and compare it to like a shoe. Like, or like a phone.
think
Like
mine has a lot to do with like exercises, bicep workouts or something with
what?
like
Oh,
when patients have like tired eyes or something and they're like,
yeah.
oh, I'm just looking at my computer all day, but I don't have my, computer glasses on. And I'm
Got
like,
it, got it, got
it's
it.
like working out all day, your bicep exercises, and
You're
then it's
getting
gonna get
tired.
tired. And I'm like literally doing the motion. And
So
they're like, oh, okay.
so that and that is
Exaggerated it in the exam.
that's part of my tidbit. Start talking to your friends, ask your other colleagues, like, what are their analogies
Yeah.
and steal them. Like,
Yeah.
share your analogies and use them. That could also be a little happy hour episode. You guys let us know if you want a happy hour of us getting drunk, just telling our analogies of like cataracts and accommodative spasm and
Yeah.
dry eyes, because I think it'll be really good to share those analogies with patients and share with colleagues. Practice, 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 because it will save you so much time in the exam room. If they fully understand it, when you ask the patient, do they have any questions? They'll say, nope, I think you explained everything pretty well. And then you're done out the door.
Yeah.
Easy as that.
But no, I think
Um,
analysis is a big one. I think that's a good, really good piece of advice because, yeah, if you kind of, or if you're kind of not sure how you're going to explain something, patients will just always have more questions and then be like, wait a minute, I didn't quite understand. And then
yeah.
you're like, hey, let me re explain this part.
Okay, I think that's it. We shared a lot of titty bitties for you guys. I
Yes.
hope that that helped a lot of new grads, getting into our minds and our thoughts of what we've experienced over the past 2 to 3 years of practicing, where we are now, where our podcast is going. So we're really looking forward to just getting back on the mic now every week or every couple of weeks,
Mhm.
releasing episodes, sharing great content, having fun, and then
Mhm.
interviewing a lot of amazing guests, just so that you guys can learn from some of the greats that are in our profession and new greats who are, introducing a lot of new stuff into the profession.
And if you guys have someone or someone in an expert in the industry that you want to learn more about or you want more information from about like a certain topic, let us know because we're very open to ideas. We want to, collaborate with you guys too. And yeah, we're always reading comments and everything and open to
Yeah.
feedback and stuff. So yes, we're really good with that. So if you have someone in mind that you want interviewed, let us know.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to Four Eyes. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe and leave us a rating to give us a feedback on how we're doing. And you can check us out on Instagram at Four Eyes Optom for a lot more content and to share your thoughts on this episode. We'll see you next time.